My father spent 20 minutes lecturing me about financial responsibility, yet refused to lend me $5,000 while planning his vacation to Cancun. I'm 34 years old, and last Tuesday, my entire life shifted when I checked a lottery ticket and realized I had won $47 million. My hands trembled as I stared at the 6 numbers that matched exactly. Once the shock passed, I had a sudden thought. I wasn't going to tell anyone. My history with family and money had been messy, and I didn't want this to turn into another problem. If you're watching this, leave a comment and tell me where you're tuning in from. And before I share the choice that changed everything, please like and subscribe for more true stories about family loyalty and betrayal. Stories that may change how you view your own relationships. Up until that Tuesday, my life was ordinary, even dull. I worked as an accountant at a small marketing agency in Portland. Up until that Tuesday, my life was ordinary, even dull. I worked as an accountant at a small marketing agency in Portland. The salary covered the basics, but there was never a sense of security. I lived in a modest one-bedroom on the city's edge. Nothing special, but it was mine. Each morning, I woke up at 6 o'clock, brewed coffee, and started the day weighed down by financial worries and deadlines. The job was demanding, with 60-hour weeks common during tax season. My family situation was complicated. My parents, Thomas and Margaret Wilson, divorced when I was 14 and both remarried within 2 years. My father, a high school physics teacher, married Elaine, a real estate agent with expensive tastes. My mother married Victor, a successful businessman who was wealthier than my dad, but extremely strict with money. I have 2 siblings. Rachel, my younger sister, is 30 and has always been the family's golden child. She graduated from an Ivy League university, married a surgeon named Daniel, and lives in a beautiful suburban home with their 2 children. My older brother Andrew, 36, is intelligent and charming, but can't seem to settle down. He bounces between jobs and relationships, and he's mastered the habit of borrowing money from family, always with an urgent plea, a promise to repay, then silence until the next crisis. Extended family added more complexity. My Aunt Clara, my mother's younger sister, was probably the most genuine person in the family. She lived paycheck to paycheck as an elementary school teacher, drove an old Honda that rattled, and filled her small apartment with books and plants. Despite her own struggles, she always showed up when it mattered. Then there was my Aunt Judith, my father's older sister, who married into wealth and flaunted it at every chance. Holidays were her stage to criticize everyone else's life. Her son Ethan inherited her arrogance, but not her success. He had a gambling problem the family largely ignored. Over the years, I had grown wary of lending money. 3 years ago, when Andrew needed $5,000 for rehab, I drained my savings to help, only to find out later he never went. When Rachel needed help with wedding costs, I charged $2,000 to my credit card. She promised to repay me after the honeymoon. But 5 years later, I was still waiting. When my father needed money to fix his roof, I sent what I could, only to see photos of him and Elaine vacationing in Cancun weeks later. The only person who fully understood these betrayals was my best friend Natalie. We met in college, and unlike most relationships, ours stayed steady. As a nurse, she understood hardship and never judged my conflicted feelings about my family. She often reminded me that not everyone was out to take advantage of me. Work wasn't much better. My boss, Collins, had a habit of claiming my ideas during client meetings. My coworker Jeremy often left early, leaving me with the workload. Despite this, I rarely got recognition for my efforts. Still, I kept my head down, hoping my persistence would pay off. My small indulgence was buying lottery tickets, but $10 routine every Friday at the corner store. My family mocked me for it. My mom called it a tax on people who couldn't do math. My brother joked that I might as well hand him the money. My father lectured me on probability and statistics. But to me, those tickets represented a sliver of hope. Even after years of winning only $20 here and there, I couldn't let go of the chance for freedom. I had dreams, traveling beyond the Pacific Northwest, going back to school for a master's in something I loved, building savings that would cover emergencies. But in my mid-30s, those goals felt out of reach. Student loans and small but stubborn credit card debt always kept me behind. Each month was a juggling act: bills, groceries, and maybe a dinner out with Natalie. I clipped coupons, compared prices, and knew which stores had the best deals. I drove a 10-year-old Corolla that rattled in the rain, with no money to repair it. Outwardly, I seemed fine. Inside, I was always calculating, wondering if I could afford to say yes to something or if I needed to decline with an excuse. That was life before everything changed. Uneventful, sometimes lonely, but steady in its own way. I didn't realize a single slip of paper would upend everything I thought I knew about myself and my family. It was my 34th birthday when I bought the winning ticket. After another exhausting week where Collins once again stole credit for my work, I went to Harold's corner store as usual. Harold, an older man who had owned the shop for over 30 years, greeted me warmly. "Happy birthday, Elena," he said. "Thanks, Harold. The usual, but maybe one extra for luck," I replied, handing him $20 instead of 10. "Maybe today's your lucky day," he smiled as he handed over the tickets. This time, instead of using quick pick numbers, I chose my own. March 16th, my birthday. My mom's on the 12th. My dad's on the 21st. Clara's on the 9th. Natalie's on the 30th. 6 numbers that represented the people closest to me, even the ones who had disappointed me. That night, I ordered Thai takeout, opened the wine Natalie had gifted me, and spent my birthday evening alone. The drawing was at 8 p.m., but I wasn't paying much attention. At 8:30, I casually checked my ticket, expecting nothing. The first number matched, 3. I smiled. The second matched, 16. My heart raced. Then 12. Then 21. My hands started to sweat. 9. Finally, 30. I stared in disbelief. This couldn't be right. I checked again. Then again. I turned on the TV and replayed the drawing. Each number appeared exactly as printed on my ticket. My hands shook so hard, I dropped the remote. "No way," I whispered to the empty apartment. According to the lottery site, I was the only winner. $47 million. After taxes, about $28 million. An impossible sum for someone who earlier that day had been excited about saving 10% on detergent. I didn't sleep at all that night. Instead, I searched stories about lottery winners. Most were cautionary tales, families torn apart, friends appearing out of nowhere, fortunes lost within years. One article called it the quickest way to lose everything you love. By sunrise, I had decided. I'd claim the prize, but I wouldn't tell a soul. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even Natalie. At least not yet. I needed time to think, to plan, and to protect myself. The next morning, I called in sick for the first time in 3 years and scheduled an appointment with Martin Blake, an attorney specializing in financial planning and estate law. Sitting in his office with the winning ticket in my purse, I felt like an imposter. I need to know how to claim this without anyone finding out it's me, I told him as I placed the ticket on his desk. His eyes widened, but his tone remained calm. You've come to the right place. For the next 2 hours, Martin explained everything. Winners could claim prizes through trusts that kept identities private. He described blind trusts, tax processes, and the importance of assembling a team of financial experts. The biggest mistake winners make, he warned, is telling too many people too soon. Once it's out, there's no going back. He was right. I wanted to do this the right way. I didn't want this money to destroy my life. Leaving his office with a stack of documents and next steps, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. I now had more money than I ever dreamed of, but no one to share it with. I'd be living 2 lives, the struggling accountant everyone saw, and the secret multimillionaire only I knew. Over the next 2 weeks, Martin helped me set up the trust, claim the prize, and build an investment plan that secured my future. On paper, I was untouchable, but in reality, my daily life stayed the same. Same job, same old car, same complaints about bills. Keeping it a secret was harder than I expected. I found myself wondering, would my family be happy for me, or would they only see me as an ATM? Kept me awake at night, until I came up with an idea. What if I could test them first? I'd pretend to need help, a modest but meaningful amount, and see who stepped forward without expecting anything in return. Only then would I know who deserved to share in my new life. Andrew turned out to be one of the biggest disappointments. After I sent him a detailed message explaining my situation, his only response was, "That sucks, sis. I'm stressed right now. I'll call you later." He never did. My follow-up texts were ignored, and when I tried to call him directly, it went straight to voicemail. This came from the same brother who had borrowed thousands from me over the years, always with emotional promises to repay that never happened. When I reached out to my stepmother Elaine, she was direct and showed no sign of sympathy. "Elena, I know this is hard, but Victor and I can't help. Maybe this is a chance to improve your financial management. Have you thought about downsizing your apartment or getting a roommate?" When I reminded her that I had helped them with cabin renovations just last year, she dismissed it. "That was different. That's a family property you also benefit from." The fact that I had only been invited once in 5 years didn't matter to her. My stepfather Victor was even harsher. "You're not my daughter," he said flatly. "I've supported your mother for years, but your financial struggles are your own. Maybe you should have chosen a better career path." My cousin Ethan initially seemed supportive, promising to help and even suggesting we meet so he could hand me a check. But an hour before, he canceled with a vague excuse and never rescheduled. Soon, he stopped responding altogether. Aunt Judith's reaction was predictable, but still painful. "Elena, I always said that company of yours was shaky. I told your father you should have taken that bank job after college, but nobody listened to me." She then went on about how other relatives had faced money problems, but overcame them without asking for help. Later that evening, I learned from Rachel that Aunt Judith was spreading stories about my so-called financial recklessness. After a week of rejections, broken promises, and silence, I was drained. My experiment had confirmed my worst fears about my family. 7 people I had helped over the years couldn't or wouldn't be there for me. Then, my phone rang. It was Aunt Clara. "Elena, sweetheart, I just heard from your mother about the job. Are you all right?" Her voice was warm and sincere. I hadn't even reached out to her yet, but she called me first. That simple act spoke volumes. The next day, we met at a small diner near her apartment. Clara, with her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a ponytail, looked the same as always, comfortable, modest, genuine. She hugged me tightly before we sat down. "I'm so sorry about your job, darling. That company never deserved you. ... Over lunch, she asked thoughtful questions about my job search and even offered to connect me with people in her network. When we finished, she pulled out an envelope from her purse. "I want you to take this," she said, sliding it across the table. Inside was $3,000. I know it's not everything, but it should help with rent. I was stunned. "Clara, I can't accept this. It's too much." "Nonsense. Family helps family. And listen, if you need to save money, my sofa pulls out into a bed. It's not fancy, but you're welcome as long as you need." Tears welled up in my eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. "Don't worry about paying it back right away. Get steady first. Find a job you actually enjoy this time. Life's too short to stay where you're not valued." Walking back with the envelope, I couldn't stop thinking about the difference between Clara and the rest of my family. The one with the least had given the most. Later, I found out Clara had quietly been struggling with type 2 diabetes. Her medication costs had doubled, and she had taken on tutoring jobs to cover expenses. That $3,000 was nearly all she had, yet she gave it without hesitation. Meanwhile, my mother had just spent $8,000 remodeling a bathroom, but couldn't spare $5,000 to help her daughter. The following evening, I invited Clara to my apartment for dinner. As she sat down, I noticed how tired she looked. I placed tea in front of her. "Clara, I haven't been fully honest with you," I confessed. "I didn't lose my job. I made up the story to see who in the family would help me." She was quiet for a moment, then said softly, "I'm not angry. Maybe a little sad you felt the need to test us, but I understand. Our family hasn't always treated you fairly." "You were the only one who helped," I admitted. Clara sighed. People show who they really are when helping becomes inconvenient. I learned that the hard way. She then shared her own story, how her ex-husband had stolen her $50,000 inheritance to invest in a failed restaurant. That's when I realized some people see you as a resource, not a person. Her words resonated deeply. Then I told her the truth I had shared with no one else. "Clara, 3 weeks ago, I won the lottery. $47 million. Her eyes widened, but she listened quietly. "I didn't tell anyone because I needed to know who would stand by me without knowing about the money. You were the only one who did." Clara squeezed my hand. "You don't owe anyone anything, not even me. Just knowing you're happy and secure is enough." Her selflessness broke me. She had given me nearly everything she had when she thought I was in need, and even after learning I had millions, she asked for nothing. From then on, Clara became my anchor. I set up a trust for her medical care and bought her a comfortable home near mine. I also left my job and started a nonprofit, Second Family, to support elderly people living alone, inspired by Clara's struggles. When I later met with my family, I didn't reveal the lottery win. Instead, I calmly told them I had found a better-paying job. When I reminded them of their silence during my supposed crisis, excuses filled the room, but no accountability. That meeting gave me something more valuable than confrontation: clarity. 1 year later, Clara and I lived just blocks apart. My nonprofit had helped hundreds of seniors, and Clara was thriving, volunteering at a literacy program. My family remained distant but polite, unaware of my winnings. I helped them quietly at times, anonymous payments for medical bills or rehab, but I never told them the truth. Clara often reminded me, if you had announced your winnings, you'd never know what was real. She was right. The money had not changed who people were. It simply revealed them. The real lesson was not about others. It was about me. Before, I tied my worth to how much I gave, believing that sacrifice equaled love. Now I knew that real love, like Clara's, doesn't keep score. It gives freely while respecting dignity. The lottery hadn't just given me wealth. It gave me freedom, purpose, and the ability to see clearly who belonged in my life. The greatest truth I learned is this: the people who deserve a place in your life are the ones who stay when you have nothing to give but yourself. Have you ever tested someone's loyalty? What did it teach you? Share your experience in the comments. If this story resonated, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It may help someone who needs this reminder.